Hello, ELL Intermediate 2 class. How are you? I hope you are doing great. It is the first day of required learning. And so I want to tell you all about our ELL class and what we will do for the 5 weeks if you choose to stay in the ELL class. Right now, I just checked PowerSchool. Every single person in our class has an A. Woo! So if you would like to keep that A and boost your GPA a little bit, this is the class for you. So what I have put together is a unit on argument. And so what we will be doing this first week is we're just going to look at some different examples and see the argument and the counter argument that we could make kind of as a little practice. We'll do the same thing next week, but we'll read an article and try to find out the argument and how they support their argument, and then what is the counter argument and how do they point out that that's wrong and kind of beat it down and say that's not the way it should be. Then we are going to write a letter to a presidential candidate. We're down to 2 now. We've got Joe Biden for the Democratic Party and President Trump for the Republican Party. And so you can choose which of those candidates you want to write a letter to, but you're going to state your opinion, your argument, and it'll be 2 paragraphs. So we'll break it down. 1 week we'll write the first paragraph saying why you think the way you do with support. And then the next week, the week of May 18th, you'll write the second paragraph that goes in that letter to the candidate about a counter argument. Like some people might say this, but here's why they are wrong. Okay? And then the last week of school, we are just going to do some editing. I will read your letter and kind of give you some tips, like your verb doesn't match here, or your verb is kind of weak, or maybe some adjectives would help make this better. And that will be it. So it is 5 weeks to write a 2-paragraph letter to a presidential candidate. So I'm trying to make this pretty easy for you, but still teach an essential skill, which is good arguing skills. So I hope that you will join me for the ELL class for the rest of the year. This week, the first week of class, let me see if I can get back to the beginning here. Oh my goodness. Should have had this ready. And how do I expand this screen? This is my first time using Screencast-O-Matic. Oh, I hope I can do it. Maybe I can't. Maybe I have to make it smaller. Sorry. Okay, sorry. I think I figured out how to do it. Anyway, so argument. The reason why I chose this is because argument is an essential skill for success. Whether you're a student in a class defending what it is that you believe, or if you're just a citizen in your country and you want to state your opinion, you need to learn how to support what you believe with good evidence and be able to oppose those counter arguments. So that's why we're going to focus on this for this last month of school. So in this first week, we're going to look at an infographic, and what that means is much like in our textbook, if there's a graph along the side of the reading that kind of helps you understand what it is you're reading, it's like that, but there's no essay that goes with it. It's just the picture that we learn from. We're going to look also at a cartoon, a piece of opinion writing, and a video to help us better understand arguments and counter arguments. So the first one is we're going to look at this graphic on the next slide, and the question I have for you is, do these people think that learning a second language is a necessity? So what is their argument? Can you put it into a sentence? So let's take a look. The headline says, "No second language? No problem. You can study, work, or volunteer abroad in English in countries across the world. Here are some destinations highlighted by QS for English speakers." So we've got the United States and Canada. You can speak English, people will understand you. We've got some countries in Europe. Hey, you can even go to Africa, Egypt and South Africa. You can live there, work there, study there, people will understand you. Middle East, India, a couple of tiny countries here. In Asia, I don't know if you can see it behind where I'm speaking, but Australia and New Zealand. So they've highlighted some places where they're saying, all you need is English. So this company is basically saying, it's fine if you only speak English. There are several countries in the world where you will have no problem communicating. So their argument is, you don't really need to know anything other than English, if that's your language. But can you think of the opposite view, a counter argument? I want you to look at the graphic again and think about a counter argument that you could make. So when I look at this map, I see a lot of pink. And I think if I started a company, a business, and I wanted to sell my product to places other than just the United States and Canada and those smaller countries that are in green, there's a whole lot of pink out there that I'm not going to be able to communicate with if the only language that I know is English. So my counter argument might be, the more languages you learn, the better you will be able to do business and communicate effectively with international clients. So I'm saying it's not enough to just know English. That could be a counter argument. Let's look at another example to practice another argument and counter argument. So here's a cartoon that a high school student drew. She wanted to help explain her opinion on school uniforms. So you can see here somebody is yelling into her bedroom, "You're late!" And she's looking at the clock and it's 7:30. And then at 7:40, she's already in her school uniform and she's saying, "That was fast." So do you think that the student is for or against school uniforms? I'm going to give you a few seconds here. I want you to think about if she were to write this in an essay. What would be her opinion in a sentence? I think her opinion might be, let me see if I can move myself out of here. Oh, nope, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Try that. Her opinion might be, school uniforms are good for students because instead of wasting time in the morning worrying about fashion, they just put on their uniforms and they are ready for school. Think about a sentence you could write that states a counter argument. So she's saying that it saves time. Can you think of anything that would be the opposite of that? So I said a counter argument might be, while school uniforms might save teens time because they do not have to worry about putting together a fashionable outfit, it actually takes more time at night to do laundry more frequently, iron the clothes that need to be pressed, and shine the shoes. So I could argue that no, it's not really saving time at all because a uniform is more work. In the morning, I can just grab anything that I want out of my closet that's clean. But if I have a uniform and I've only got, 2 skirts and 2 shirts, then I have to do laundry more often to keep those clothes clean and keep them ironed, keep my shoes looking good. So my counter argument could be, actually, no, you're wrong. It doesn't really save time. Now, in the United States, we are a free country, right? So it's not like some countries where if you say you don't like the president, you could go to jail. So everybody is free to have their own opinion, and we may not agree with it, right? But it's hard to argue with a person if you don't have good evidence, good reasons, good support for your argument. So we're going to look at an opinion piece here that you may or may not agree with, but as we read it, I want you to think about 2 things. First of all, think about how you would summarize the writer's argument. So what is it that the writer believes? What is their opinion? And then what counter argument could you make? So I'm going to click on this link here, and it's going to take me to Newsella. And I might need to make my screen a little bit bigger here. And I don't know if you remember Newsella, but you can change it. So you can, if you want to practice, if you're at home and you're bored and you're saying, I need something to do, Newsella is a good place to practice your reading. You can make it really high. I'm going to make it really low today because we are not here to try to practice, learning new words or anything. We're here to look for an argument. So this argument is an opinion piece, and this person is saying the welcome mat is out for legal immigrants, not for others. And here's what he writes. And they write here, the opinions in this essay are those of the writer and do not necessarily represent the views of Newsella or its editors. Political language, word choice, and position belong to the author alone. So they're saying, this isn't what we say. This is what the author is saying. So let's read this together. Remember, you're thinking about what is his argument and what could you give as a counter argument. Immigration is hard to discuss these days. We're pressured to pick a side. Either you're pro-immigrant or anti-immigrant, right? To me, that kind of mindset is nonsense. People should be in favor of legal immigration. They should be against illegal immigrants. Immigration laws must be obeyed. I'm the grandson of 4 immigrants to America. Growing up, I knew a lot of immigrant families. Every one of them came to America legally. It took a lot of time and effort to do it. They played by the rules, though. In fact, that's what made America special. There were rules here, and people followed them. Today, some immigrants have decided it's okay to cheat. They say, the heck with the rules. We're just going to America on our own terms. This has to stop. Thankfully, it appears that President Donald Trump is doing just that. He is working to build a wall. It will keep out undocumented immigrants. Compare that to President Barack Obama. He put out a welcome mat. Trump promised to protect the border. Trump's actions show he is keeping his promises. For example, the policy of catch and release is over. No longer can illegal immigrants wait for a court hearing. If they are caught, they will be sent back. Trump is also helping our Border Patrol agents. They are overworked. He is sending National Guard troops to help them. People are also tired of the sanctuary movement. Cities have passed laws to protect undocumented immigrants, but they get in the way of ICE doing its job. ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It is responsible for stopping illegal immigration. Local and state law enforcement agencies should help ICE. Sanctuary laws stop them from doing their jobs, but communities shouldn't help illegal immigrants. No path to citizenship for dreamers. Lastly, the president has slammed the doors on dreamers. Dreamers are foreign-born children who were brought illegally to the United States. Now they say they deserve to stay. Trump offered a path to citizenship for more dreamers. It was better than Congress had even requested. All he asked was for Congress to help him secure our border. Congress said no. The dreamers were betrayed by people who promised to help them. The welcome mat is still there for legal immigrants, but for those trying to force their way in, the door is being shut. All right, so if we go back to this question, how would you summarize the writer's argument? I'm going to give you a few seconds and think about that. If you had to write it in a sentence, what would you write? And now think about a counter argument that you would make. All right, are you feeling good about this? Are you ready to do one on your own? The last task is to watch this video. This is a SLAM